my self-esteem, even though I was building it up and I lost weight and stuff like that, I'm now around the most uncommon of uncommon people. And I'm like, my God, I'm here. Do I belong here? Do I belong here? So your mind has a good way of taking the path of least resistance. Whenever friction happens, friction causes growth. Whenever friction happens, that's why a lot of us don't have any growth, because when friction happens, we go the opposite direction. So in my mind, when friction happened, my mind said, oh, hey, man, let's get out of here. You're not real. You've lied your whole life. You come from this, you can barely read. Those things, so whenever times got hard, my mind said, you're not good enough. Let's go. So my eyes, my mind weren't connected. So how you combat that is this. I call it the cookie jar. You have to remind yourself. We all have a story. All of us have gone through very hard times. But when we're in a hard time, our mind has a way of forgetting what all we've overcome. I have a way of taking 1 second when I want to quit and saying, okay, you endured this. So I look at my life and how I came up as the ultimate training ground versus most people look at it as why? Woe is me. God, why? Right. Why? I had to flip this upside down and say, hang on a second. God was training me to be one of the baddest men on the planet. That's how, this was my journey. Because those things beat me, but they didn't kill me.
Is the greatest single obstacle to our success is our self-limiting beliefs. Is we believe that we're limited in some way. Our friend this morning was talking about the fact that each person is a potential genius, that you have genius inside you, that you have unlimited potential, which is what we agree, we believe passionately. But if we believe that we are limited in some way, it becomes true for us. It becomes our belief. By the way, I didn't do well in school, and before we came here, I was going to do some background checking on the people here. And what I found is there's a lot of people in this audience who didn't do well in school. Yes, there's a lot of people here got lousy grades in school. I was astonished to look at the high percentage. In fact, you could be sitting next to one of them right now. Yes, we know who you are. Now here's the problem, is that if you're told, which I was, and all the time you're growing up, they say you have to get good grades or you won't do well in life. You have to get good grades or you won't get into college. You have to get good grades or you won't get a good job, won't get very well, and so on. They tell you that to encourage you to get good grades. So what if you got lousy grades for whatever reason? Well, now you could be 25 or 35 years old and you don't even try. You don't even try because, hey, you didn't get good grades in school, so you're kind of short of potential. And what we do is we actually sabotage ourselves. We drive with our foot on the brake of our own potential because we think, well, I didn't really get good grades in school. And then you read the studies and you find that most of the people who got straight A's work for the people who got B's. And the people who got B's work for the people who got C's who own the companies. And the people who own the companies got the money from the venture capitalists, all who got D's in school. You know, and so the grades that you got in school are irrelevant. But if you believe that because you got poor grades or because you didn't get started, you didn't go to college or something else, if you believe it, it becomes true for you. So the first thing you do is you have to challenge your self-limiting beliefs and realize that most self-limiting beliefs have no foundation in reality. How many times have you had an experience where you thought you had no skill or ability in some area, and then you started working in that area and it turned out to be pretty capable, and you're quite amazed that you never had that idea? The fact of the matter is we all have that throughout life. My friend Dennis Wavy has this wonderful line. He said you could not use all of your potential if you had 100 lifetimes. You have so much potential. And what holds us back from using all of our potential is we believe that we don't have it. I will never forget the story of this fellow's grandfather came out, homesteaded a piece of land in Alberta, passed it on to his grandfather, passed it on to his father. The father could never make a living on it. Finally passed on to the son. The son was on welfare and raising goats on this quarter section in Alberta. None of the family for 3 generations had ever made any money on this hard scrabble piece of farm. And along came an oil company. The oil company said, can we drill on your land? If we find oil, we'll sign an extraction agreement with you, royalties and so on. They drilled on his oil, they found an oil pool, and within overnight he was a millionaire. He had an income of something like $150,000, $200,000 a year for the next 30 years. He went from living a hard scrabble life, raising goats on this lousy piece of land, and somebody else came along and showed him how to get the potential out of the land. The oil had always been there. That's what this seminar does. That's what Harv does, by the way, is he shows you how to drill oil in your own land and tap into the potential that you have. It was always there. It's been there all this time. But your job is to drill. That's really important. And that's what we're here for 3 days, is to look for insights. So remember this. Always ask yourself, you have a self-limiting belief. What if it wasn't true? What if it wasn't true? My son, going back to David was really shy when he was growing up. And so I would say, one thing I know about you, David, is you're not afraid of anything. He said, oh, I'm afraid of everything. He's afraid of riding a bicycle, and he's afraid of this, he's afraid of ghosts in the night. No, David, you're not afraid of anything. And I say to Barbara, he said, one thing I know about David, he's not afraid of anything. And she said, yes, I am. We drive along, I say, well, I really admire David, because he's not afraid of anything. And I would just say this, and I changed his name to Dave the Brave. And then I shortened it to LeBrav. I say, where's LeBrav? Where's LeBrav? Where is he? How are you doing, LeBrav? I called him that. I started calling him Dave the Brave all the time. And at a certain point in his life, he started saying, something, I'm not afraid of anything. It changed his whole life. You reprogrammed him to tell him, because other than that, he had a self-limiting belief. And it's really important. Anyway, so your beliefs are important, and your whole attitude toward life is determined by your beliefs. And here's the interesting thing. You come into the world with no beliefs. Every belief that you have, good or bad, you learned from childhood. And most of your self-limiting beliefs, if not all of them, have no basis in reality. Is you have the capacity to do anything, be anything that you want. You could learn any subject. You could become a doctorate in any university. You could memorize, then learn languages. And the more you learn, the more you can learn. The more you use your brain, the more your brain is capable of learning more things. But what holds us back is, I could never learn languages. Shut up. You could learn languages. I'll tell you what, you went to a foreign country, and the only way you could eat is to learn the language and the words for the food. You'd learn languages at a speed of summer lightning. I know, because I've been there. In other words, the self-limiting beliefs have no reality. So the belief that you have to have programmed in, put in your computer, is that you are going to be a big success in life. And everything that happens is part of this great process. Now, the next law is called the law of expectations. Again, there's libraries of books and years of research on this. Expectations theory, by the way, is the foundation of all economics. It determines the drift of stock markets, the movement of world finances. It determines investment. Entrepreneurs have high expectations that their entrepreneurial efforts are going to work. We would not start a business without high positive expectations. So expectations have an enormous impact on our attitudes. And here's the interesting thing, is if you believe you're going to be a great success, you expect everything that happens to be part of the great plan. So if you have positive expectations, like a kid's first Christmas, you're positive all the time. And the key to being positive is to look for the good. Expect good things to happen. We say that whatever you expect with confidence becomes your own self-fulfilling prophecy. Is you are constantly predicting your future by talking about how the way you think things are going to turn out.